Hello and welcome to the School Board Candidate Forum. We really appreciate everyone being here this evening, taking time out of your busy night to be here. I especially wanted to thank the Ozark PTAs for hosting this event tonight. And please join us afterward for a town hall meet and greet with our current school board. I am going to introduce Cindy Kinzer. She's Ozark East PTA, and she is Ozark Youth Cheerleading and has been co-chair of Ozark Students First.
Okay, welcome to tonight's forum. We're really happy to have you all here. And before I begin, I'm going to read off some agenda guidelines for tonight so that we can have a very happy, smooth event. Okay, each candidate up on our stage will get 2 minutes to answer the first question that we have, but after that, you will only have 1 minute to answer all the other questions. When a community member comes to the microphone, we ask that you ask your question, and you can come down either aisle. We have people that will hold the mic for you, but we ask after you ask your question that you go back to your seat. Only one question per community member, please. And we will attempt to have follow-up time at the end if we have time to allow. We ask that you be respectful of each candidate in attendance and all of us seated here tonight. And we ask that no questions, this is very important, no questions address specific student or personnel issues in this forum. And as Sarah said, we hope that you can join us at the end for a nice time of fellowship in the lobby with yummy snacks and lemonade and water, I believe we have. So, okay, so we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna ask the first question. And the way we'll do this is we'll call you number one, Mr. Ralph, okay? So we'll start the first question, you'll answer first. Second question that's asked, we'll start with you, okay? Question number one. Tell us about yourself and why you are running for school board. And are you a PTA member?
Well, Cindy, thank you. But first, I want to thank the current board members for serving our community, and also the other candidates for taking on this responsibility to seek an office. I can tell you that it's a lot more difficult than people think, but I also want to thank the PTA for facilitating this opportunity to speak and tell you about myself. My name's Ralph Phillips. My wife, Lisa, is a retired elementary counselor. My career was with the U.S. Marshal Service, retiring as a Special Operations Commander. Since that time, I have served as your Eastern Commissioner, your Presiding Commissioner. I've served on several education boards to include the last 3 long-range planning committees here at Ozark School. I've served on the Ozark Chamber Education Board that we discuss issues within our community. But more importantly, I've served as a scout leader, and yes, I was a PTA member back years ago when I was trying to get more men involved in the PTA organization because I realized I was the only guy, and that wasn't good. And as a grandpa, that's not good. I need young guys. But more importantly, this is not about me, this is about our kids. And those who don't know me, I'm very passionate about serving in our education system. I'm all about kids. And throughout my career, I've had a lot of accolades and commendations, but nothing is more rewarding or humbling than being your Ozark Volunteer of the Year. But that was stopped here recently was when our daughter became Ozark School Volunteer of the Year. And as a parent, I can tell you that is a very proud moment to see that kind of commitment. But again, this is about our students, and I'm running because I really truly, sincerely care. And I can't emphasize that enough. And I'm easily to bet there's plenty of people here that know me and know what my commitment is to this education system.
Thank you, Mr. Ralph. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name's Anthony Petrosino. You can call me Tony, though. So that's what I go by. A little about myself. We moved here about 5 years, my wife and I, from California. So we've been here. I've been married 36 years, had 3 kids and 3 grandchildren now. My wife spent 15 years in the school district in California as an office manager. And so we know, I definitely have been involved with schools there. I have 15 years of volunteer service to the kids, elementary and middle school age students in sports. So I served honorably for 20 years in the United States Navy. I am retired, and I have a bachelor's degree in technical management. So you're asking, and the question on here also is why am I a PTA member? And no, couldn't serve while I was overseas, so I was never part of that. And so that's about that. That's about it. Straight to the point.
Amber?
Hello, I'm Amber Bryant. A little bit about myself. I married my college sweetheart, Chris. There he is. And we've been married 20 years now, and we still like each other. We have 2 children who are also here tonight. We moved to Ozark 10 years ago, just in time for our oldest daughter to start kindergarten at East PTA. No, at East Elementary, but I was in the PTA. I'm currently a PTA member. Our youngest daughter, Emmeline, she's in 6th grade at Ozark Middle School currently. And when we first moved here, I was a stay-at-home mom. I volunteered in many capacities, including PTA president. I think I was vice president, secretary, and I think I was treasurer for a while, which I did not enjoy. But this is my 10th year at PTA, and will be my last because it doesn't go on to junior high, which means my kids are getting too old. But I volunteered in many places. I was advisory member to Ozark Cares Network. I was coordinator for MOPS at my church. I am currently on the board of the Historic River District, and about 5 years ago I decided to go back to work, and I'm currently the HR director, Human Resources Director for Christian County. And I was the first person to have that title. Before, Christian County did not have a Human Resources Director. And now we have grown to a whole building of employee services. We have IT, human resources, benefits, and purchasing. So that's me.
Next.
Hello, thank you. I wanted to say thank you to the PTA for having this forum so the community could find out who they're going to trust to make decisions about our most valuable resource in Ozark, our children. I'm Christina Tunsing. Hello. I have been a math teacher for the last 27 years. I've lived here in Ozark for 22 years. I'm so thankful for such a great community to raise my children in. This is a great place to live. We have great schools here. We want to protect them and keep them great. It's been fun watching my children's friends grow up and my college classes now. Sometimes I have some of them. Kids I had in my classes I taught at church now in their first grade classes, now they're in my college classes. I've been active in other community events besides just my church. I was on the Republican Central Committee for many years, volunteered in organizations and events with that. I'm on the board of the 7th District Missouri Republican Assembly, and I'm a from the Christian County, Missouri Republican Assembly chapter, so I've been involved with helping preserve our conservative values, helping elect conservative candidates around this area. I spent 7 years teaching at the high school level, and now I teach at the collegiate level. I teach math, and I tutor math. I tutor local high school students. And I believe that training and reasoning, that analyzing problems, finding solutions, those are all helpful skills in any kind of organization, leadership organization. And I think especially one with as many different facets and components as our school district. I think those would be great assets. I'm running for Ozark School Board to make it even better, make our school district even better. We have a shortage on teachers. We have several different things to do to combat that, and I have 1 second left, so I'll stop. Thank you.
Yeah, that thing is scary down there, the 2-minute clock. Yeah, I want to echo what everyone has said. Thank you for putting this on. Thank you all for being here on a rainy Tuesday night. It's an honor to be up here with these other 5 candidates. These are all good candidates. That regardless of which 3 you vote for, I want you to feel like you've made a good decision because they're all great candidates. My name is Joey Mills. When I graduated from Ozark High School in 1996, I was a 13-year senior, which means I've been here the whole time. My wife was a graduate as well. When we decided to start a family, we made a decision, like so many other people, to come back to Ozark primarily because of the school system. We wanted to raise our kids in the top school system in the area, and that's why we're here. I was a PTA member when my kids were younger. They're all in junior high and high school now. I was also involved with the Watchdogs program before the pandemic hit and that went away. Been involved volunteering with the Ozark Cares Network, Care to Learn. I've judged junior high speech and debate tournaments. I've spent Saturdays with the band. So yeah, I've been active and involved. And the one thing that I feel like I bring that I haven't heard, and guy's gonna go, he may just like completely blow this up. But I am currently a substitute teacher in the district. I don't get to sub as much as I want to, and anytime I have to sub, I don't want to be there because I want the teachers there. But I think that voice of being an educator in the classroom is important to have on the board. And this is a time of transition for the board. There are 3 new seats out of the 7 that are on the board. So make a good decision that you feel comfortable with, regardless of who that is. I think tonight you're going to find out that all 6 of us are strong candidates for the positions.
I'm not going to blow that up. I'm not a substitute teacher, and 2 minutes is really scary for those who know me. I can talk the rest of the evening, especially about myself. I'm Guy Calloway, and my wife and I have been married 22 years in June, and we have 5 kids. 4 have gone to Ozark schools, are currently attending, and one of our pride and joys got a granddaughter that is at Tiger Paw currently. So we're super excited and invested in the community, and you'll find me volunteering in a lot of different facets. Our kids have been heavily involved in FFA, and then our boys are heavily involved in athletics, so it's often you'll find me in this building. I would be in the gym watching a game or in various sporting events that we go and support the kids. I have coached a lot of kids through youth sports, upward basketball, the Ozark Parks, some more competitive teams, and I love getting to see kids take ownership and grow into the person that they want to be. So I made the decision to run for the school board, and really someone reminded me of it recently. They decided 2 years ago that I'd be running for the school board at some point, and I made that decision because the school board is where I do see we can make an impact on Ozark. The school district is really the heartbeat of Ozark and impacts everyone, whether you've got kids in the district or you don't have kids in the district. And it's an opportunity to give back. I've got my real estate business, got an office just off the square in Ozark, and just as Joey said, more people most people come to Ozark because of the school districts and why they want to be here. So connecting the school district and our business community and making an impact is why I'm here.
How'd you do that? So proud of you. Okay, one thing that I got from that is we need a junior high PTA. Right? Okay, here we go. All right, now we're going to start with our questions, and we're actually going to start the questions with our PTA presidents. So when they come up from our various PTAs, they're going to tell you what school they're representing and their question. So who is number one?
Hello, am I on?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jess Levins. I'm PTA president of Ozark South Elementary. Just a little plug, you can still be a PTA member even if you don't have a student enrolled. You can be a PTA member as a community member. So our question is, we are currently hearing of a neighboring school district board advocating for transitioning the current PTA to a PTO, which will revoke their eligibility as a 501c3 and put personal liability on parent volunteers. As a school board member, what support would you be able to expect from the board for our existing PTAs and our parent volunteers?
First off, there's a disclaimer on that question statement. So my understanding, first off, is PTAs and PTOs are both covered by the 501(c)(3), and they both are insured by the same insurance through the AIM insurance. But in saying that, as a board member, the sites get to determine what they're going to have at the sites. It's either going to be PTA, PTO. Whatever they decide is what I'm going to back. I'm not going to try to, push that agenda into the school district. Whatever you guys decide you're going to have, that's what you're going to have, and that's where I stand on it.
PTA is near and dear to my heart, and I would always be supportive of that, but I would be supportive of any group. And I know that some PTAs switch to PTOs because so much money of the membership dues are going back to the state and national level. And PTOs, when usually a school switches to that, is to keep that money here. But you would have to find your own insurance, because that is something that you would have to do, because I would never, ever want to discourage parents from coming into the schools. I think that's a huge part of children's education, is to see their parents and guardians in the school. But ultimately, I agree. As a school board member, if I was elected, I would just support whatever the group wanted to do.
My first inclination is similar to what they've said. I believe authority is best exercised locally. Limited authority, local control. So the parents and the teachers involved are the ones who get to decide what they want to do with their organization. Now, I'm a person who likes to research things, so I went to PTAtoday.com and looked up, PTOtoday.com, and looked up the difference. They are 501c3 organizations, so there's a little bit of misinformation being circulated in different places. And actually, I went to aimcompanies.com, and they offer the same exact insurance policy to both PTOs and PTAs. So, you could even call the representative and ask them. They said everything's the same price, it's the same coverage. It's just a matter of switching the name on the policy. So I understand also more than half of the PTA dues go to the big organizations, but the big organizations, there comes a lot of help. There might be some, there might be some structure that's helpful, but it seems like there's not all that much difference between PTO and PTA, so that would certainly be up to the parents. Not a board issue.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, similar to what they've all said, you guys are the adult leaders of our volunteers in our schools. You put this together and wrangled the 6 of us up here. Pretty sure you can decide whether you want to be a PTA or a PTO. Regardless of what you decide, the school board's job is to support the volunteers in our school and support the staff who's getting those volunteers in their classrooms to help with the tasks that they need help with. So again, you guys make the decision because you are the volunteer leaders, and expect this group, or at least those who have spoken so far, to support whatever you decide.
This may feel like a broken record, but what I support there and the importance is making sure our parents do have a way to volunteer. And if there are solutions where it can be done either way, and what's best to serve the PTA or PTO or the parent organized there would be important, and the board should support it. I agree with it being a parent volunteer organization. I do not believe the school board should be deciding what is there, but I would believe we'd be there to help, because that volunteer organization, those parents impacting the students, is critical. So finding a way to support them to make sure that's being done properly would be where I would say.
My personal opinion is I would never give up on an organization that's got a 126-year proven record that creates a lot of, it limits the liability of the organization. But at the end of the day, it's the members who decide. And I have not found anything that keeps you from having both. So I don't know what your bylaws are with the PTA, but I know that a 126-year-old institution is, from a lobbying standpoint and protection of our educators, is very powerful, and to include the parents.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe our next question is from East Elementary.
I don't think it's turned on. Hello? Hello? Just shout it. There it goes. Yeah. Hello? It's booting up.
There it goes.
Yeah, there it goes. You're hot.
Now?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Whittington from Ozark East, PTA president. What is the biggest challenge facing our schools, and what is your plan to address it?
I believe that there are lots of challenges facing our teachers and students and staff. I'm sure the list is long, and I'm sure that they have to deal with challenges daily. But my question would be, are we giving them everything that they need to be successful? I'd like to see us have a district-wide engagement or satisfaction survey done by students and teachers and staff. I think it should be outsourced so you can get honest answers. And I think that only if we ask them what the challenges are, what number one to them, can we start to have conversations about how we can troubleshoot and how we can give them the tools that they need to be successful to face those challenges. So I guess I could say, if elected, I would like to start gathering that data so we can start having those conversations.
Ozark has long built this reputation for being a great school district. And the reason it's a great school district is because of the teachers. Now, I believe, the parents and the kids all work together, right? But the teachers are in the trenches right there with the kids all the time. And we need to be able to hold on to those teachers. We need to have it be a place where teachers want to work. Teachers, anybody wants to belong to an organization where they feel like they're valued, they're respected, they have a purpose, they have some expertise recognized. So that kind of leads into, I think, we need to ease off that administrative burden on teachers. Teachers are being asked to do double duty, way too many things. There are teachers who have to leave class early to go drive buses. Teachers have to give up their planning periods to go cover another classwork because there was a substitute. We need to make it so that teachers will want to stay there, be involved, feel respected, heard, promises made to them are kept. All of those things that go into making it a team organization. We just keep it that way.
Yeah, I will agree with both of those. The teachers should be the administrators' focus. Because this sounds like a broken record a lot, I'm going to shift away from that answer just a little bit, not because it's not important, but because let's talk about something else too. I feel like one of our biggest strengths could also be one of our biggest challenges. I think we do a fantastic job with getting kids in the district and ready for school with Tiger Paw. We've got a brand new shiny building that your grandchild goes to. We've got a fantastic program, especially with the new academy model, for our high schoolers who are going to walk away with something besides just a degree. And we've got the shiny new OIC to kind of showpiece for that. I'm afraid sometimes we take our eyes off the middle. I want to make sure that our facilities that between kindergarten and 8th grade are up to snuff.
That's good. And I think our teachers are also important, everything that's there. Maybe we could kind of reiterate a lot of that. So I'm going to go a little outside the box. And the one thing that we need on the school board that we have we don't have direct control of some of the impacts, but they're going to be the state legislator and the rules that are coming down to the school district at a bigger level. And we need to be making one decision at a time for the schools and managing what those are, because those are things we don't control. We don't get to decide what new laws are passed, whether it's funding we're going to talk about some of the things later, I think, in some of the questions, but it's important that we're able to see the big picture and making decisions that impact today's generation and the next generation of students in Ozark.
Again, this goes back to having the luxury of being involved with 3 master long-range planning, and obviously the thing that I see is the rapid growth that we continue to experience here. And I think part of the solution is already being addressed, but it's unpredictable, but we've got to have smaller pre-K through 4 classrooms. If we build that solid foundations, it's going to give the educators the more opportunity to do their job the way they want to do it, because I've seen classes go down and then the growth and then they're back up. And I think we all agree that any monies that we invest in pre-K through 4 will pay dividends for the duration of their education. I will continue to advocate for smaller classrooms in the pre-K 4th grade.
So, when my wife, like I said, she was in California School District for 15 years. She was at the same elementary for all 15 of the years. So when we look at that, and as I obviously visited her and we communicated a lot about what went on in that school, by the time she left after the 15 years, there were a lot of teachers that were leaving due to the last administrator. So when we look at those issues, I'm looking at transparency and accountability. I do see that if we want to keep the best teachers, as we go talk about that in the next couple of questions, we want to make sure that they have the atmosphere to want to be in our school district. We want to make sure that they are respected in our district. So when talking about those needs, that's where I'm coming at. Is for the teachers to be respected and want to be in this district.
Okay, thank you. Our next question.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. My name is Shannon Merriman, and I am the president at West. And our question is, what will you do to help attract and retain highly qualified teachers and administrators to our school district?
So I was talking a little bit earlier about making that atmosphere a place where they feel like they want to belong to that organization. Recognizing their expertise in the classroom. Our focus should be academics. Our focus should be academics. The board's focus, the district's focus should be academics. Yes, there are lots of needs out there. Sometimes parents can't help their kids the way they need to, but just to borrow someone else's analogy, I thought it was a great analogy. Just like Cox Health focuses on medicine and then they outsource their IT work. They outsource their food cafeteria work. They focus just on health and medicine. We need to focus just on academics. We can connect parents and families who have needs with other community resources, churches and local charities. but our teachers ought to be able to do in their classroom what they know best how to do, which is teach kids. We are teachers because we want to help kids. We want to help kids discover the love of learning. We want to help them grow to their full potential and develop fully. Focus on that.
So I think as a school board member, there are two things really that we can focus on as far as attracting and retaining teachers. Number one is kind of obvious, it's why we work, pay and benefits, right? We need to be competitive locally and across the state with our pay and benefits package. And the second thing I think that's important for school board members to do, and I know our school board does a good job of this, is advocating for our teachers and our school district. Nobody wants to deal with 25, 30 kids having to wrangle an active shooter drill and then go home, turn on the TV and hear somebody call them groomers or pedophiles or anything like that. We've got to change the culture around public education. We've got to start standing up for our teachers because teacher turnover is higher now than it's been in a long time. And the reasons for that is because if you're gonna ask somebody to do the job, you need to compensate them and you've got to start appreciating what they're doing.
I was asked many years ago what the most important job of a business owner or manager is, and I was a young punk, and I said something like build profits and increase sales. And I was educated real quick that it's recruiting the best team, and in this case, recruiting the best teachers and administrators, as the team with the best players wins. And so I think that some of the things have been said there, but in retaining it, it is all about culture. And we've got to make sure that we're building that culture and engaging our teachers inside of each class, or inside of each building especially, and the overall culture for the district is going to be important. Benefits and pay, when it comes to recruiting is going to be important, as well as calendar and some of the things that we're dealing with on in bigger levels. I've got my sister teaches in Fairgrove. They're on a 4-day a week, and that's not that is where Ozark needs to go, but we've got to counteract some of those things happening other places and know our strengths.
First of all, I think Ozark does a tremendous job of attracting highly skilled and qualified educators. And again, it goes back to my 12 years of experience volunteering in the schools. You get to build that healthy professional relationship. I really think we do a good job, but we can always do better. Again, it goes back to my previous answer about giving the teachers the skills and the tools to do their job and support them. One way of doing that is in smaller classrooms, because even at the high school level, they'll tell you they can tell a difference in a kid that's had the opportunity to be structured at the pre-K level versus one that has not. And my hat's off to the school district for investing in our Tiger Paw program. It's great, and I think at the end of the day, if people feel appreciated and you give them the tools to do their job, they will work for less money to stay here in a healthy environment.
So this question is, so in reality, I couldn't do it myself, so I definitely will, as the board member, work with others, create an environment to attract the best teachers. And how do we do that? Make sure they have fair salary, make sure they have autonomy, and make sure that they are respected, as I said in my previous thing. If they're respected and they feel respected, they'll stay. If they're not, then they're going to be pushed out. So how do we create it? We need to create the environment here for them to stay. Yeah, and I'll throw my wife in there as 15 years in the same school. And so why not have a teacher 15 years plus in the same school or the same district? Give them the resources. Make sure they're respected. Make sure that they can use their gifts to teach without any other pressures from outside.
I would like more than a minute because it's literally what I do. But the first thing I would do is I would want to know the turnover rate. I I would want to know that broke down. I want to see it broke down by teachers, pulling out retirees. I'd want it broke down by age, gender, and I'd want it broke down by building, because I'd want to see the reasons that we're losing teachers. I'd want to know if we're doing exit interviews, and I'd want to know what those questions are at exit interviews. I don't want to hear so-and-so left because they went to a different district to make more money. That's not a good exit interview question. I want to know what happened the day that they updated their resume, because that's the reason why we're losing people. And if we're offering a fair wage, then it's not the reason they're leaving. And it's actually very rarely that people are leaving for money. It's just the most political answer to give, because it's genuinely the culture. So it would be really hard for me to answer how we would fix this until we get the data to see what's wrong. And I could have went longer, but I think
You did a good job, thank you. Okay, our next question comes from middle school.
Hello, my name is Samantha Byrne, and I am the president at the middle school PTA. My question is, what is your view on voucher programs that allow parents to use public funds to send their children to private schools?
Samantha, I'm going to make this real quick, and then I'm going to give the rest of my time back to Amber to talk more about the answer she didn't get to get. Public tax money belongs in public schools. You have 48 seconds. Turn your mic on and go.
I would do is you're real? Okay, I'm gonna take it. Okay, because the next thing that I would do is I would try to have focus groups, and I would have new teacher focus groups. I would break it down by teachers who have been here for 5 years and then 10 plus. I'd want to have them in small groups to start talking about what's wrong with what issues are they facing and what tools can we give them. I think school board members should sit on that. We could almost call them listening sessions to make sure that we are hearing exactly what they are facing on a daily basis. Because then we can start to see what the problem is, if there is a retention problem, and then what we need to work on to also have recruitment. And that was very nice.
Vouchers. Okay. So as far as the voucher system, I'm not for the voucher system. Tax dollars are for the public schools, and anytime you start trying to give someone tax dollars to spend elsewhere, corruption is sure to happen. So, very bad decision.
Does Amber get your other 40 seconds?
Amber, how much more time do you need? I have as well. I'm totally against the voucher program. I think the detriment to our district, I don't care what district, would not be healthy. And more importantly, if you talk about the things that we just talked about, teacher retention, I think the data supports that the voucher program is detrimental to retaining teachers. That's one of the problems they have with it.
So that question to me is irrelevant, because we do not have a good voucher system in this state. So we should not be concerned about it right now. If they do pass it, which is out of our control, then I think the best thing to do is make sure that the Ozark School District does what it can take, does what it needs to do to bring in and make sure that they keep the funds. That means they're making sure that the school district is good for our community and good for our students. So, as of right now, again, they don't have the voucher system. So it's an irrelevant question to me. And so, that's what I stand on, to make sure that we keep the students here, we do what it takes for them to want to be in this district. And that's across the board, from administrators to board to teachers and everyone.
I have a different answer on vouchers. I think if a student wants to leave us and use a voucher to go to a private school, I think we should ask ourselves, how did we not serve that student? That's the bigger question here. I think we should, if they do that, I would want to know, why did they leave? How have we failed in some way? I think that there's going to be things that they leave for that we have no control over. whether religious reasons or cultural reasons. But I think if we were presented with a voucher program, I don't think it's something that we should be afraid of. If anything, we should use it to see where we're lacking and what we can do better.
So I followed different bills in the legislature over the past many years, but they all define vouchers differently. So that would be my first question. Before I can decide if I would support something or oppose it, I would want to know, how are they defining it? What are the requirements used for it? But honestly, I think it's the difference between private schools or is it religious schools, but don't we all want our kids to be educated? They're going to be voting. They're going to be making decisions. They're going to be analyzing information. We want all of our kids to be educated. And some of us like Lay's potato chips. Some of us like Great Value potato chips. I mean, right? We all have different tastes and different needs, and our kids are unique individuals. And if they can find somewhere to go to school that works better for them, then I would think we would want them to have that. That isn't going to hurt our school any, because our school is, the thing we're concerned about here in Ozark is that we're going to get too many people coming. So it's certainly not going to be a danger for us.
Okay, our next question.
Hi guys, my name is Brianna Leach. I am the president at Ozark North PTA. And our question is, speaking of bills, how do you feel about Missouri House Bill 253 and Missouri Senate Bill 5 dealing with open enrollment?
Just say no. I have been advocating against this and actually have reached out to our representatives strongly asking them or encouraging them to vote no on these bills. Open enrollment, I think, does take away from the community, and I have spoken with parents, and the ones that are pro-open enrollment primarily deal with athletics and moving their kids to other schools. I'm sure there are other reasons, but that is the ones that I know of. Not to mention our current funding program for our Ozark public schools, for statewide public schools. Unless they were to change that, it would be very difficult for it to work right, as someone may go and live in Sparta, pay a lower tax rate to move their kid to Ozark, where we have a higher standard of education. So I would be very much against it.
Again, it goes back to my previous response to the voucher program. I have studied this extensively in different forms throughout the years, and my wife and I have had this conversation over and over. And there was a time when I thought it might be beneficial when I lived in the South, but I am totally against anything that would be that detrimental to our school district, and I think either one of these would be. And that's my opinion. It is what it is. I can't see anything positive that could come out of this.
I do not know enough about it to say I'm one way or another. I do have to do more study. I would have to do more study on it. But it does seem to me that we seem to be negative about it, when we can also bring in students from other districts that want to be here because of our high academic, grades and scores and what have you. So I don't, if someone wants to come here because they know we're higher than Dixon or Greene County or Sparta or whatever, then that's the reason why they're coming here. But again, I do not have a direct one way or another. I'd have to study a lot more than what I know about it now.
At the last couple of school board meetings, this has been discussed, and I would have to agree with some of the information that was presented then. Dr. Baumann said that he believed that we would be a receiving school on this, and I would agree with that. I think that I would be against this because we would not be able to control it. I don't know what would happen to our class sizes and the money that we spend to educate our children. That would not not necessarily follow in an equitable way. I also think this is a slippery slope. I think you're going to end up having super schools for athletics and band, and this one has a great science. I think that this is not a good idea. 20 seconds.
So sadly, there's been a lot of misinformation going around about those two bills. If you go online, you can look them up. House Bill 253, you go to house.mo.gov, or you can go to senate.mo.gov, you can look up Senate Bill 5. You can look up the bill up in the upper right, it gives you the full bill text, you can read it. Anything in bold is something they're adding to the bill. It says very clearly, schools do not have to participate. And it's not only just, they don't have to participate, like you can opt out, but it's an opt-in program, so we can just keep on doing everything the same, and we don't have to participate. The schools that do choose to participate can set the level of people that they want to accept, students they want to accept as transfers into the district. Traditionally, when the enrollment program goes into place, open enrollment program goes into place where students can transfer district to district, that's what we're talking about with these bills. Traditionally, there's less than 5% of people that leave neighboring school districts. So, and most of our costs are fixed costs, like buildings and staff, things that we pay for anyway. So that would be a very minimal financial impact on our district, actually. Do I need to stop? I'm done. I can keep on going.
I will echo the consensus. I'm not for it either. We've seen what happens. The state of Kansas is a great case study for what happens when a state government decides to tell the schools at a granular level how they are going to operate. It has not worked out well. I think, again, our tax dollars should go towards educating our students. And so I've got 30 seconds left. I'm going to say, so those were all, we saw those questions, we kind of prepared for those. I'm kind of ready for the next step because this is when you guys get to ask us questions, and our answers are going to be off the cuff. And so let's see who can think on their feet up here. I'm looking forward to this, so let's go.
So I'm going to remind everyone when you come up to ask a question, one of our PTA representatives will have a mic ready for you. After you ask your question, we ask that you go back to your seat. It's just ask your question and have a seat. And remember, we're being nice and respectful. I work with little kids a lot, so we're all going to be really good. Okay? Okay. So whoever has a question can come down.
Okay. Hi, I'm Whitley Karanja. I hold a lot of roles in the district. I am a parent. I've got 3 kids. I work at South Elementary as an interventionist. I am volunteer of our Soto Club there. I'm also, probably the most important to all of you, the MSTA president of the district. So my question is coming on behalf of our MSTA union. Our district currently participates in a collective bargaining relationship with the MSTA leadership team to allow our staff a voice in calendar, salary, health insurance, and benefits. How are you, as a school board member, going to foster this relationship so that our staff in the district know you support the collective bargaining process?
Back to you, Mr. Rapp.
I want to make sure that I understood that question correctly. You're talking about collective bargaining, which exists now. And I don't know what your master contract is in detail, but again, it goes back to providing the educators and the staff with the tools to do the job, whatever that is. I feel very confident that there will be that honest and dialogue to make sure that that's being addressed. But to answer your question specifically, I really don't know what the master agreement is. But I would support any conversation of any form that when people can sit down and have a conversation about any topic that's going to improve the quality of our school district.
So, again, I am a little far off on that question, but just like anybody that works anywhere, They want a raise, they want insurance, they want all the benefit packages. So, am I gonna stop you from bargaining and or trying to increase your pay, your benefits, and all that? Absolutely not. We all want that, and as people in the community where you raise your family and you gotta pay your taxes and pay your bills, I support any effort that you got that would help you better your family. So that's where I stand.
I would welcome those questions. So I would absolutely be very interested in having those conversations and making sure, I mean, what I do now is messing, it is kind of, but dealing with benefits, dealing with salary structures, making sure that we're meeting all of the needs. And I would also want to make sure that we understood everything in your agreement, and I would very much welcome having those conversations and would be very supportive of that.
As a former MSTA member myself, I say I appreciate that organization and the structure that a group can bring with insight, with experiences from the past or in other areas to work together on things. But I have to be honest, I'm one of those individual people. I think if a person wants to make a choice to belong to something, then they can, and if they don't want to make a choice to belong to it, then they don't have to. If you're asking me if I think teachers should be forced to join one of the groups. Now, the groups, even though I believe that for a long time, the groups were so attractive. I mean, I wanted to join the MSTA. So if you're asking for how would I think that the district should work with the group, then I think definitely you need to have those group conversations. You need to include different representatives from teachers from different buildings. All of those people need to be able to work together. But I'm sorry, I can't support saying somebody has to belong to it. I don't know if that's what you were asking.
Yeah, there's strength in numbers, right? There's strength in community. There's strength in having people who have been in the trenches before and now they are working on your behalf. So I absolutely support, and I know unions kind of get a bad name sometimes, but yeah, teachers' unions are important, and I think they should have the full support of our school district. Those teachers need to be heard. Their voices need to be part of the decision-making process when we're talking about things like pay, benefits, the schedule, those types of things. So yeah, I'm all for it. And again, I would love to know more. Like I said, these are the off-the-cuff questions, so I'm not up to date on exactly everything that goes on with that union. But yeah, I think that we should support our teachers in whatever path they choose to go down, especially when they get together and say, this is, as a group of educators, what we're bringing to you. There's power in that, I think.
To me, we talked earlier about retaining teachers, and that's something that's an important part of the culture of the teachers, and I think it's important that, unless there's a problem with it, I don't know why we would try to change that and support those conversations to ensure that teachers' voices are heard and make sure it's a place that they can continue to educate. All right, whoa, there we go. So I don't know what you heard or didn't hear, but I would, it's an important part of the culture, and I think it's important that we we continue to foster that relationship, and if it's not there we go, to ensure that we're retaining our teachers and keeping them educating our students and making an impact in our community.
Okay, does anyone else have a question? Got one coming?
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm with Concerned Parents of the Ozarks. And so, just down the road in Springfield, there was an incident with Rural Health, and the school board member, Dr. Mariam Mohammed Kandi, and so they removed her as vice president of the board. She's still on the board, So some things have been brought to light with that incident. So I just would like to know, what are your thoughts on that incident, as far as, of course, there was the instructor of the seminar there who was caught misleading students, right? So saying that everybody was attesting to racial trauma when it was actually only about 10 students. So they were called out on that by Dr. Merriam. So my question to you guys is, first of all, do you agree with what the school board did? And then second of all, what do you think about fostering partnerships with school districts, with entities like Borough Health? Well, and specifically Borough Health.
Yes, we'll start first.
So I don't know much about Borough Health, but with being a person of integrity, I expect integrity out of there. She was falsely removed from the vice presidency. She proved that the incident with this person bringing lies in the classroom, and we can't stand for that, period. Because we need to have integrity, period. And if we bring people like that to bring false narratives, it's unsafe, and it may not be brought to the school, period. So that's where I stand on that.
I'm actually not familiar with what that situation is exactly, so it's hard for me to speak on that specific one. Also, I feel like anytime there's a personnel issue, because it is what I do, there are two sides to every story, and each person's side is their own perception, which is their own reality, and that is what they believe. And some, I know that the story, I would have to really look into that before I could give my opinion on that. So I don't really have a stance on that.
So, I believe it's of utmost importance to make sure that we're telling kids the truth all the time. Now, just the hoopla around that incident, the sensationalism, the big words used to describe the disturbance and the interference, gives me cause to wonder, because what happened was everybody else was participating also, and she raised her hand and waited to be called on. The instructor called on her, and she just said, oh, it wasn't everyone, it was just a fraction. That's the only thing she did. That's not a disturbance. So it makes me wonder if that was the real reason that they decided to remove her as vice president from that school board, if that was really needed to be that big of an incident. But the question was about working with an outside agency, and I have just mentioned needing to work with different agencies, because our focus is supposed to be on academics. So needing to have people help with different things. Of course, any group that we wanted to have help, we would want to analyze them, we would want to evaluate them, make sure that they matched what we wanted our kids to learn, that they matched our community's values. If they were too outlandish, then they wouldn't really be a good fit with someone else. I haven't analyzed girls, so I don't know.
Time's up. Okay.
Like Amber said, there's more than one side to any story. So it's hard to sit here and be judge and jury of something that didn't happen here, that we don't all have all the facts on. I think that a school board should police itself if they chose to remove her from the vice president position. That's an internal discussion they need to have, and it's not my place as a Ozark school board candidate to tell Springfield's existing school board what they should or should not do. It's in terms of working with outside agencies. Yeah, we need to vet the agencies that we're bringing into our schools. We need to have school staff on hand whenever an outside agency is operating within the building. And if there is an issue, it needs to be addressed immediately. It's hard to talk about values because we do serve every student and family in the district, and everybody's got different values. So what might be not cool with one may be absolutely okay with another, and we've got to find that balance.
I will kind of reiterate, I've heard a little bit about the story, but it was in a conversation, and so I really don't know facts on right or wrong, but I agree that that was that school board's decision in that situation, and for whatever reason, there's multiple sides to what happened there without analyzing it all. I think it'd be very difficult to say whether they were right or wrong. I feel very, as far as working with outside organizations and companies, I know with the OIC, we're going to be embarking on that a lot in a lot of different facets. And I do think it's important that we are reviewing those agreements and analyzing what's going on inside the schools, because when we bring them in, when you have a partnership like that, they're an extension of the Ozark School District. So it is important that we are well connected there and monitor that.
I don't know anything about the situation in Springfield, so forgive me there, but mental health is on the forefront of every aspect in career field that I can think of. It has been ongoing for several years now. It's recognized that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. Of course, again, I'm married to a counselor, so this conversation has been brought up several times, sometimes directed at me. On a serious note, I know that every organization that I'm familiar with is addressing that issue. And to include your position, probably a few years ago didn't exist as a behavioral specialist. And I see the district being proactive in these as well as our special needs kids. So I know that's probably not the answer, but I can tell you that there's a lot of partnerships going on right now, and they will continue to go on to address this issue we have in our society, not just limited to us.
Hey, do we have any more questions from the floor?
If there's nobody else, I do.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Hi, now I'm asking as a parent and voter, not as a president of PTA. I used to work for a division of youth services, and we had a philosophy or mission statement that was every parent does the best they can with what they have. My toolbox isn't the same as your toolbox, so to speak. So I heard from Christina, and of course this is a question from everybody, the focus needs to be on just academics. What needs is the district currently serving that you don't think should be serving any longer, or anybody? Are there any needs? Or, so to speak, are there any needs that we do need to do more for?
So the question is, what are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? Or what do we need to do more of?
I heard that there are needs that the churches need to be doing or parents need to seek. Is that what you said, Christina? I might have that wrong.
We want to start with Christina, maybe? Start with Christina so she can explain.
I might have that wrong.
Okay. Maybe.
Can we not time this while we're figuring out what's going on?
Yeah, we're not timing. Stop the clock. Yeah, maybe Christina, you could answer first, and then we can go back to Amber and keep going.
Sure. I said that there are many other resources in the community to meet needs like helping with clothing, helping with feeding. And I'm not saying that there are any that the school should stop doing. I'm saying the school should allocate our resources exactly on educating our kids. And this is not just Ozark, I have kids in my college math classes. I ask them, okay, so now let's fill this number in here for X, and then we'll get 4 times 2, what's 4 times 2? And they don't know. I mean, it's not their fault because we didn't teach them. They have to pull out their calculator, and then they will say, oh, maybe it's 8. They don't know. So I'm trying to say we should streamline our focus onto education and academics. And there are other needs that need to be met, and the school does a great job helping with many other social kinds of things, helping with maybe with food or with, but we should spend our resources on academics and make sure the teachers only have to focus on that. Let the outside groups, the charities, the churches, whatever, the things that help parents know how to parent, to help parents get the things they need, let those groups, because they specialize in that, so they can help them better than the school can help them. I mean, no offense about that to people who are doing that in the school, but let the teachers focus on what they're experts at teaching.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and then we'll go back to Amber. We'll go back to Amber and then we'll give over to you. Okay.
I do think that the school does utilize a lot of those groups. I mean, I know Care to Learn is assisting, and we had Ozark Cares Network that was also helping with those. I know that there's a number of nonprofits that are helping our students. But there's a point that the teachers are going to know what is happening more than anyone else. So they're always going to be the front line for that. I mean, I'd like for them to have more resources, but I mean, great teachers are teaching our kids, but they are also pouring into them in other ways. And I think that's what makes a good teacher. I'd like more resources for them to be able to hand off. Like, I need this student, I know needs shoes. Who can we get them to get shoes? And so they can slip them to them. But there's never going to be a time that the teacher is not going to be running frontline for that.
I think this idea that meeting the needs of the students is different from academic achievement is a kind of a weird concept to me, because I have kids with social anxiety disorders, and how many of the teachers here had a kid that's normally a good student, had a rough day because they were running late, they didn't get breakfast, or you know what, their socks are on their right side out, but they need to be inside out for that kid to feel good about their day, right? It all ties together. So the idea of let somebody else deal with it, I don't like that idea. The teachers, if your child gets 8 hours of sleep and they spend 8 hours in the school every Monday through Friday, teachers have as much, or sometimes more hands-on time with those kids than sometimes their own parents do. So to say that teachers, you just focus on multiplication and let somebody else worry about where this kid's gonna sleep tonight, that doesn't sit well with me.
There's a lot to unpack with this, I think, and on the surface we can talk about it in a lot of different ways. But ultimately, we've got to solve some of these issues for that student to be able to learn. And our district focuses on each student, and we want to meet each student where they are. It's hard to make a one blanket answer on how we're going to serve each one of those. And what's running through my head, and I'm gonna, they'll get a little chuckle out here, but in a previous career, it was said that 20% of people that visit Walmart don't exist in society, meaning they only leave their homes to go to Walmart. And I think about a lot of our students that they may only leave their house to come to school, so the teacher may be the only one that can make an impact on them. But maybe have those resources to provide them that they're going to.
There's always room for improvement, but I feel very confident that if each one of us in here would take the time to invest in one child, because Mrs. Snodgrass ends her emails with a comment that just resonates and just speaks volumes. And what she says in her emails is that every child is one caring adult away from being a success story. Now that's easy to say, but honestly, if 5 of us in this room would invest in one child a few minutes a week, you'd be amazed at the results the outcome of that. I've done it for 12 years because I felt that's where my passion is, number one, but number two, it takes a village. And to think that the teachers and the educators and the support staff can do it all, it's not realistic. And so I would challenge us all to get involved. And you with the PTA, I admire that because that's a lot more work than people think. I'm past my time, I'm sorry.
You keep saying that. It's okay.
You can keep bragging on the PTA. It's okay.
Right. We'll allow it.
Go PTA.
So my understanding of the question is not really directed at resources, because my training in the military is to always observe what's going on, and that's with people as well. We're not telling the teachers that they can't observe what's going on with the student, whether they need food or they need clothes or they're having a bad time. I think the topic of academics is the main thing a teacher should be teaching. Now, if the teacher needs to see if there's issues with them, with the student that they sees going on, then they can direct the resources or direct them to the right resources or to the parents of that child or children. So that's what, that's a given. As adults, we should observe what's going on with the students and then direct their needs to the organizations that they need to see.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Yes.
My name's Mark Wells. I have kids currently in all the different buildings of the schools, ranging from middle school all the way to high school. Amber and others spoke about retaining teachers and conducting exit interviews after they leave. I think it's a shame that some of our excellent staff has already left. The current board that oversees this current school administration has expressed the view that the current board, will not investigate concerns of former and current school personnel that have issues with the administration. How would you, as a potential new board member, take an active role in listening to current teachers and school personnel's concerns that are here currently that don't have a safe place to express their concerns to their bosses, the administration, and keep those teachers and personnel before they leave?
Yeah, you can start this.
Well, I do understand to a point that the school board, it does act as somebody who would go to as an appeal. So in my job, I would make decisions on personnel, and then the employees have the opportunity to go to the commission that I report to, and they would tell their side of what happened. I would present mine, and then they act as an appeals to overturn those decisions. And I believe that the school board is kind of in the same way of that. So it's hard for them to get all the information when there is an investigation going on or there's issues going on. So I understand the stance of that to a point, because we can't discuss personnel issues outside of closed session and outside of those decisions. However, I do think that the school board should take an active role, and one of the things I mentioned was having those listening sessions and breaking teachers down by demographic to start listening to what the issues are, so we can, I'm over my minutes, but to look at a broader picture to fix those things before they happen.
So nobody can figure out what is going on unless there is an active investigation, an open investigation. Nobody can make a decision about something unless they have all the facts. So if you're asking what could the school board do, they could actually hold an investigation. They could hold a hearing as required by board policy. It's spelled out very clearly in our board policies what needs to happen. So there needs to be a hearing where both sides get to present their explanation of what happened. Nobody knows the facts until you've actually gotten to hear them. So there needs to be an investigation for anybody who has a problem with something that's happened. There are going to be, like has been said multiple times, there are two sides to the story. You need to hear both sides. It needs to be open in the public. There needs to be that kind of, on my signs it says transparency and accountability. Transparency is what allows there to be integrity. Being able for it to be seen and heard in an open hearing. And I understand some personnel issues are, like, you have to keep those quiet, I understand that. But eventually, board policy says you have a hearing, state statute says you have a hearing. You investigate, that's how you can decide those matters. Thank you.
Hey Mark, how are you? Good to see you. So yeah, the law, policies, it's all very clear. So without commenting on stuff that happened with this current school board, because I'm not a part of the current school board, understanding that, yeah, there is a policy, there are laws in place, there are certain things that you can do and certain things you absolutely cannot do with personnel investigations. So I think the best thing to do, the easiest thing for the school board to do, if any part of dealing with that kind of a situation is easy, is just to follow the letter of the law. Beyond that, I echo everything that Amber said. I mean, you have to listen to what's going on, you have to take a look, what Tony said earlier, you have to observe. Yeah, we need to have people paying attention to what's going on and hearing what's being said. Not by necessarily the 10% that's really loud on this side and the 10% that's really loud on this side, but that the folks in the middle who are bringing real concerns to the table, we need to be addressing those.
I would agree that setting back and looking at policies and making sure we're following those and the laws, I mean, we're not going to get outside of those and whatever those are and how that should be done, that's what we need to be following, and it does. I mean, to use your words, it makes it simple if we're following what needs to be done there. And to take it a step further, I mean, and I think this is what Amber leads to, and I'm going to take it a little step further, but it's very important. I think we're very proactive with this, and not the investigation, but proactive in creating the culture that we can ensure our teachers are being heard and staff are being heard, so that we can improve the culture inside the school if there's any issues and address them before they become an investigation. That's ultimately what we want to do is catch it before it becomes a problem.
Anytime you bring up personnel, you're talking about protecting information. So I don't know specifically about past incidents. I just know that most entities today have very sound, structured policies in place that protect not only the employee, but also the institution as well as the students. And in my career in investigations, I've realized that there's one side, the other side, and the truth somewhere in the middle. But I will always respond to any inquiry. It may not be what you want to hear because it's protected, but I will always respond to any concern as long as what the law will allow me to do.
So I understand the law and all that stuff, and I don't know enough about in the school district, but I'm understanding as a board that we have the privy of all that information. And obviously it will be in a closed door information on policy against personnel in the district or against the administration. So if we are part of the investigation team or adhere to it, and there's something that needs to be stopped, we stop the brakes and find out and investigate properly, see what's going on, and then as a board, we need to make a decision on what a person can or cannot do to personnel in the district.
We still have time for some more questions. We've got one. She was actually up before you. I have to.
Gotta be with it. Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I'm a retired teacher. I used to teach at Ozark East Elementary. And I want to know, if teacher autonomy is a priority, what does that look like to you guys?
Don't walk away, Jennifer. Come back to the microphone.
No, she's
Yeah,
not
we're taking my time to clarify. When you talk about teacher autonomy, what are we talking about specifically?
Right, we've heard people say teacher autonomy up here. You know, what are you guys thinking when you say teachers need to have autonomy in the classroom? You know, if I'm teaching math, I have a math coach that comes in and teaches how I'm supposed to teach math.
Right.
You know, when I went to college, I learned how to teach math, but now I've learned a new way to teach math. And I've learned a new way to teach reading and writing and things like that. So if I want to do this lesson, I really can't, because, you know, I have a curriculum that I have to follow, but I have to do the same one as everybody else. So there's no teacher autonomy in the classroom as far as
Curriculum goes, right?
and I understand that we all have to teach the same concept, but how I teach that is not up to me for the most part. It's, you know, written out for me. And sometimes that's good, but sometimes teachers want to do other things to get it across. And sometimes what I have done doesn't work. So I need to do something else. But you guys keep saying autonomy in the classroom. So I want to know what that means to you guys. Is it that I'm doing exactly what the district, you know, Mr. Sappington tells us this is what you need to do.
Right.
And I do what Mr. Sappington tells me to do, because he's a great guy, but, you know, what else am I supposed to do to make me more autonomous in the classroom?
Okay, I think I understand your question now. Thank you for
Okay.
clarifying. Yeah, I don't know that I've used that term, so I feel bad being the one to start this. Yeah, I mean, as a teacher, you're bound to the curriculum, and you have to answer to a boss. So yeah, doing what you're supposed to for the entire class, absolutely, and then working one-on-one with those students where that method didn't work, spending that extra time with them, or getting, again, a tutor in, or an A+ student, whatever it is, to help, you know, because I've done that before too. I've had to have my son teach my youngest daughter a math concept because I was like, this doesn't work the way it's supposed to. This is how you're supposed to do it. And he's like, no, we learned it this way. So having that other person who's actually gone through that, I think is very beneficial. So yeah, I think that comes from engaging other students. But yeah, I mean, you have a curriculum and you've got a boss telling you how to do it. There's only so much pushback you can do. However, you can do it their way, and if that doesn't work, you can try a different way, I believe.
So I equate this conversation I was having earlier today about some leadership that we've been working on for an organization, and it's about being creative inside the rules. And as Joey said, there's a boss, there's a curriculum, there's direction that's been given, and it's got to stay inside this box. And then it's how can we be creative inside that box? And there are times we need to find. I'd love to say, sit here and be like, yeah, I think the teacher should be able to teach the best way to ensure that each student learns, and that's really what we want to say and sit here, is what I want to say. I don't know enough on how that curriculum's done to sit here and be able to say, yeah, you should have that complete autonomy. But I think we've got to, stay inside that and result making sure the kids get it. So that's loaded question, good question.
I think a lot of the problem is government overreach and mandates that aren't applicable to individual districts. New math, I remember when it was first implemented in the elementary school. New math, I didn't know what that meant. I thought they were rounding up to benefit me, but it was not. But the thing about it is, it goes back to what we've been talking about on leading. It's giving our educators the tools to do their job and get out of the way and give them support. And these mandated programs that, especially the federal government, want to mandate that we implement that aren't really that effective. And it's probably going to get me in trouble, but that's my feelings.
So, to put this I'm the one that brought up autonomy, and I agree with that statement. Bring back the times tables and made it so functional, made it easy. I am a math person myself, but so in my work, we have to follow the engineer's rules on disassembling, assembling, and testing equipment. Well, I find that this engineer didn't write the book good enough, so I'm like, okay, what's best for me to get this product out and done? Same thing. You do have to follow the policy, of course, but I think autonomy means, okay, if this student is not understanding what this book is saying, as a teacher, and you know how to break that math problem down or whatever, you work your way around that to make sure that student can understand it. And that's the autonomy to me. Whatever resource you need, whatever your thoughts you need to get that student or students up to par on that topic.
I agree. I think that children all learn differently, and that's part of the job of the teacher. I understand that the curriculum comes in and you're given guidance on this is how this is supposed to be taught, and this is best practice, so to speak. This is what we have learned is the most effective way. I'm assuming that's what Dr. Sappington is sharing, the best practices ways to do something. However, I think we also know that kids are all different. My girls are different. They learn differently. I don't help them with their homework anymore because they've surpassed me. But they're both different, and I think the teacher has to be able to see that and have different ways and use your own discretion at that point.
So I think autonomy in the classroom means you get to decide what's needed right then. For example, you are supposed to teach this lesson that builds on something that they were supposed to have learned yesterday, but they had a hard time yesterday and they didn't get it. So you're going to spend a little bit of time going back over that to get them a good, solid foundation. Now, I understand there's a curriculum, you have to follow it, you have to reach a certain guide, a certain point, so that the following year they can pick up where you left off. And I understand there has to be someone to direct that, and Dr. Sappington comes and gives you the directions that he's gotten. And then we have to ask the question, where do those directions come from? Do the teachers get together and talk about what would be the best way to do something with him? Or does the state tell him? Or does the federal government tell him? If we looked at the funding for the different federal mandates that we spend trying to meet those federal mandates, we spend 10 times more money trying to meet those federal mandates than we do with than we receive in funds from them. So I'm not saying we're going to get rid of federal funding, or I'm not advocating for that or anything, but I'm saying it might be worth looking at it and seeing, is it worth it? Is it helping our kids or is it hurting our kids? Is it stifling what's happening in the classroom? Is it stifling the education? Is it helping? Sorry for going way over.
You're fine. We are at our time, 7:30, and before we just say, let's go eat cookies, I think it would be great for each of the candidates to give a closing statement for a minute statement. Can you do it?
Is there any way we can get this guy's question in? I know we're up against the clock.
I will pass, sir.
Are you sure?
If there are other people who have questions, we wanted to hear them too. Yeah.
Stand up, ask your question. Sorry, I made it.
It was a follow-up to Mr. Wells' question, but I was a little slow on the trigger, so. My name is Danny Kazare. My question was, Amber started off tonight talking about the value of exit interviews, talking with teachers while they leave and getting their impressions from it. After Mr. Wells' question, some of y'all had talked about the prospect of conducting investigations, inquiries. That all sounds lengthy, troublesome, chaotic, inefficient. If I gather correctly, our school board's current method is to say, we've employed certain district administrators because of our confidence in them. That includes confidence in their character, their judgment, their expertise, their commitment, and so on. So if questions arise about them, can't we just trust our administrators? That seems to be the current mode of operation. I guess I'm curious how y'all would respond to that. Why you think it would be worth the effort of going through a chaotic, inefficient, time-consuming process to investigate something when we could just have our administrators in whom we have such high trust investigate it instead during their already on-the-clock paid time?
Thanks for the question. And sitting here, I mean, I feel like I'm processing it two different ways with the question. What you're asking, kind of where it was, but if we're looking at a situation that needs to be addressed and there's a process built in, I think we need to follow that process. And I hope that everything's not chaotic and, in those things, but if there is the need, there are times, there are a lot of people that we trust in decisions, may get jaded, or maybe it's based on one perspective. I think Amber used one of my favorite quotes, and your perspective is your reality. And so there are times that there may be an investigation necessary. So I don't know if that really answered the question, but I think that, there's trust and not involved in some of those things that were happening before. I don't know that I can answer that without Brandon.
Well, Major Decision, first of all, thank you for building one outstanding program with the rating program. I've watched you build those boys and the men, and I appreciate them, and the ladies as well, not men, grouping them to be good leaders in the future. In response to your question, I believe wholeheartedly that we should all be held to the same standards. And that's easier said than done. But if I'm elected on the school board, I promise you, it doesn't matter your title, because leadership's not about a position, it's about your ability to have a positive impact on people. And I think you start by just doing just that. Everybody has the same standards that they would be held accountable, in my perspective. And that goes back to my military leadership training that I've implemented my entire career.
Why would we have a board if we are allowing administration to make these decisions without the board? Plain and simple. We're here to do a job. Again, military background myself, observe and see what's going on. We're all intelligent if we all have our education. I have 36 years of background of education and military and all that. I also have an A-type personality. Y'all don't know. So I'm not going to allow someone to make a decision if I see the results of the decision that might deter or might say, okay, well, you made the assault. I'm just going to tie my hand. I'm going to take my ball and go home. That's not going to happen. I am going to investigate properly, and if we have to put the brakes on it, that's what we're going to have to do until the truth comes out, and then we figure out what's the result of the investigation.
I'd like to answer that in two parts. First, the purpose of exit interviews is to see where there are issues, and it's so you can be proactive and stopping those from being issues for you, so you don't lose anyone else. Because I'd like to be more proactive, but you can't do that until you start to learn where your issues are. I want to clarify, in my real life job, my day job, my job in HR is to do those investigations. I don't think it's the school board's job to do the investigations. However, I do think it's their job to make sure that they're asking the right questions and making sure that the investigations are being done properly. And while you can have a lot of faith in your team and your employees, that doesn't mean that you don't have checks and balances in place. And that doesn't mean, that's why we have annual reviews, to make sure here's where you're on point, here's where you can be better, here's where you could have some improvement, these are things you're doing great. Everybody should have those in place.
Any large corporation, right? Ozark's office would be the largest employer in the area. Any large corporation isn't just led by a few people at the top with no oversight. Like Amber said, with the checks and balances, the school board's job is to represent what the community wants done in the school board, in the school district. The school board's job is to direct the flow of how the school district ought to be run. To say these are these are the ideas that we have, these are the things we want to accomplish. Now you please help us figure out how to implement those. Bring us a proposal or two, and we'll tell you if they match it. You know, the school board, like a big organization, a big corporation, they set the tone. And all of us need to have someone else checking over whether we're doing the right thing or not. We all think that we're doing the right thing, right? Or else we wouldn't do it. We think we're making the best decision we can, but we need other people looking at it. We need other people giving us feedback, kind of countering some of our ideas to make sure we don't wander off the wrong direction. That oversight is important.
Thank you for sticking around for your question. As Amber stated, unless I'm way off base here, I don't believe the school board is empowered to do the investigation because the school board has to be the final judge and jury, and sometimes, metaphorically, the executioner. They have to terminate in cases. So what the school board should be doing is ensuring that those investigations are taking place, that they're fair, that it's above the board, which doesn't mean everybody in the public gets to hear about every step of the way, but making sure that everything is done, you know, the way it's supposed to be done. That's one of the things the school board has to do if you don't want to open yourself up to potential litigation, is to make sure that you're following the rules and you're being consistent across the board with everyone. So that is the part that I think the school board should be doing, because the school board can't be doing the investigation. There are rules in place about who does what in those types of situations.
All right, now we will go to closing remarks, and we'll actually start back over with Mr. Raff, number one.
Again, thank you for this opportunity to come and ask for your support to do what I am very passionate about. The last 12 years, I think the healthy professional relationships I've developed will help me represent the district in a way that we would all be proud of. You hear a lot about rights, but I also feel one of the things that we neglect to talk about is our obligations. And the way I was raised and the way I feel as an individual, as a person, and my love for our educators and our students is that regardless whether I win this election or I do not, you're stuck with me because I'm going to volunteer and continue to volunteer. And I would encourage each and every one of you that try to consider a time in your life that you can do the same thing. I care about my community. I'm invested in my community. I will stay invested in my community. And God bless you all. And thank you for this opportunity.
After I retired from the Navy, I didn't know, I thought I was going to go travel the country and all that stuff. But I realized I served there, I'm not done serving yet. So part of me, I didn't know if I was qualified for the school board, to be honest. But I feel with my leadership, my teamwork, and my integrity, I bring a lot of life lessons to the district. So I feel I am qualified. I want to let the parents know that I am student first. And I want to make sure that they're taught academically so they can be good when they grow up, they'll be good for our society and our country. I want to let the parents know that you are the guardians of your children, that you have the right to see what's in the curriculum, and you have the right to see who's counseling and what's going on with your student. And that's what I support. I work for you, the parent, and you, the students, and that's where I am at.
I am running for school board because I feel like the gifts that the Lord has given me would make me a good school board member. I deal with issues every day. It's my job as a mom and an HR leader. All I do all day is listen to problems and find out ways to fix them, and to try to do them in a way that is fair. And that's one of the things that I think I could bring to the school board. With the expertise that I have in human resources, I want to offer that to make Ozark not only the best place to learn for our children, but also the best place to work. And I think I can ask those questions and be contributing in a way that would be positive.
Christina Tunsey, and I believe that one of the main reasons that I want to be on the school board is working together with people, connecting people and resources, and making sure to uphold the greatness of Ozark that's been built over the years, make sure that, I've heard Anthony say this before, and it's funny because I thought about it, Thomas Jefferson wrote it too, when he was in office, about defending this thing we need to protect, defending it from attack from the outside and from the inside, from foreign and domestic attack, from outside and inside. Making sure that people are asking questions that need to be asked, that are working together, analyzing, not questions don't have easy answers. I don't have answers, but we can learn and we can find them out. I want to represent the community. I want to represent our conservative values, and I'm out of time. And I thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate you all being here tonight, because you could have been a million different places you guys could have been, but you chose to be here to learn about these candidates. And I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again. Qualification-wise, to allay your fears, Tony, qualification-wise, this 6, no matter which 3 of us end up on the school board, we have passionate, dedicated people that are going to do the job. I feel like I bring that same passion to the table. I have a heart for our students, all of them. I've got 3 of them in the district. I have a heart for what our teachers are dealing with every day, because I've been in the classrooms helping when there's an issue, when there's a need for a substitute. Again, I don't want to do it. I hope that at some point we get past all of the upper respiratory stuff and there's not a need for me to be in the classroom. Because I think that, again, like it has been said over and over, the heart of our school district is our teachers, and it is our job to support you, and I promise you, this 6 will support you.
I just want to thank you guys all for the PTA for putting this on, and all of you guys coming and sacrificing your time to listen to us and educated on, who you want to support as we go forward. I'm running for school board because of my heart for Ozark, as many have said, and it's a great day to be a Tiger. That's one of my favorite things, and I want to ensure that Ozark is set up for success, and realizing that we're looking at the decisions we're making for the next generation of Ozark Tigers. And thank you guys again, and look forward to April 4th.
I want to thank all of the candidates for being here tonight, and I also want to really thank you for following that clock and not making me have to say stop, because I am really nice, and I didn't want to be like, stop. So I think we should clap for them, because I like to clap too. I think they did a great job. And I also want to thank all of my fellow PTA people out here that helped get this event going, and for the school district for allowing us to have this event. And I was gonna say it's a great day to be a Tiger, and you took it. So it is a great day to be a Tiger, and I love Ozark Schools, and I'm just thankful for this group that's here tonight. And join us for our reception in the hall. You can get to talk with them some more. And just thank you for coming tonight, and we're done.